welcome back to another level 1 game development camp. I'm your instructor, Ryan Tenney. Alright, so in our last video, we explored a little bit of what Unity is and some of the windows and other options that it has for us. In this video, we will be going more in depth into sprites and how to layer them, and also how to connect some sprites with others. And then we are also going to make our player character. We're going to go over the movement of the player. We're going to go over some customizing of the player. And then we're also going to have our camera follow the player. All right, so let's just dive right in. Okay, so this is just a sample scene that we have loaded. So we need to find our first scene that we made in the last video. We got the grassy knoll. So let's open that up. You double click it. Should bring us back to this. All right. So first thing I want to talk about sprites. We discussed them a little bit in the last video. A sprite is the image. Is the image of the object that we want to use. Well, we want an image besides our grassy floor. We want a player. Okay. So before I open that up, let's talk a little bit about what a player character is. Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. The player character is the character that you as the player will play. So it means it is the character that you, the player, have direct control over. So you will control how it moves, where it goes, and how it interacts in the world. Compared to like the constraints of the rules and stuff that you will build. All right, so let's get to making one. All right, so to make one, we're going to go into our images folder. Then we're going to go into the character folder. And then we have a bodies folder. And that gives us a nice character body. And we're going to bring him out, or her, out into the scene. We're going to zoom in a little bit. That's a pretty cool little guy. And as you can see, we have the sprite renderer, just like in our grassy knoll. So we can change some things. I kind of want his skin to be red. Yeah, that's pretty rad to me. Yeah, I like that. We're going to keep his draw mode simple, and no need to worry about all the other stuff. But I wanted you to look at these additional settings. If you click the little arrow, that'll open those up. And it has something called sorting layer and ordering layer. Now, what are those? So what that means is that is how we will view our character. So when you have multiple sprites, they are 2D, which means that they're flat. And when you have them as flat, you need to layer them to show what is in the foreground and what is the background. So which layer do you think we want the player to be on? Do we want him to be under? Do we want him to be under the grass or on top of the grass? I think it's pretty obvious we want him to be on top of the grass. So we're going to keep him at the default layer. And then we're going to click the grass floor. As you can see, he's on the default layer too. But let's go ahead and click him to the background, and that'll make sure he's in the back. But just for fun's sakes, you'll see these 3 layers. You can add more layers if you want, but we have them in an order. We have background, default, and gameplay. So if I put it on gameplay, our player disappears. So you have to think at the top is the back, and at the bottom is the front. So if we keep him in the background, our player will reappear. So now another thing you will see is that there's an order in the layer. Same thing with that layer order is the same thing with the order in the layer. So if we put the grassy knoll back on the default, and we put its order in the layer as 1 instead of 0, our player disappears. That is because the lower the number, the further back it is in the order. And the higher the number, the more front it is. So if we keep the grassy knoll at 0 and then click our character and put him at order 1, that'll make sure that he stays on top of the grass. But let's go ahead and make the grass into the background layer. All right. Just a quick review of that. Sprites have layers. In the layer list, the top one is at the back, bottom at the list is at the front, and that just tells you what is on top. And in the order of the layer, lowest number is in the back, highest number in the front. All right, so let's customize this guy a little bit more. So we can go into our character folder, and as you can see, your folders are listed at the top here, so you can easily go back and forth. And we are in images, characters, and then let's give them some eyes. Here we got several eyes. I'm gonna drag this out and put it on the head. Oh, but looks like we can't see the eyes. So we need to change the order in the layer. Let's put them on 1. Oh, looks like our player is at 1, so let's put them on 2. There we go. There we see the eyes. And then we can add some hair. Yeah, let's do this. 2. I'm going to change it to purple, because purple's a cool color. Goes great with red. All right, let's get a mouth. I'm gonna do the teeth mouth because it's cool. 2. There we go. We're gonna make it a little bigger. Look at that big old smile. Okay. And there's a couple other things. Let's give him a hat. Let's give him a nice little Viking hat. Let's put that in layer 3 so it's above the hair. I'm gonna make it tiny. I'm gonna cock it a little bit. There. Okay. There. Our character's starting to look a little bit, unique. I know there's not very many options in Unity Playground, but I hope this just gives you an example of how far you can customize your characters. And don't worry, just explore around a bit, and we will be adding some other customized sprites later. But for now, let's just build our character like this. All right. So now we want this guy to be able to move around, right? So let's click on the character body. and we're going to add a few components to him. So now just follow along, because this might get a little confusing, and feel free to rewind and pause and come back while you follow the video. All right, so we're going to add a component. We're going to click character body, come over to the inspector, we're going to add a component. We're going to type in move, and we want move with arrows. All right, so as soon as I clicked the add of that, it added a couple things. It added a rigid body, which I'll explain that in a second, and then a move with arrows component. So now we can move our guy around with the arrow keys. If you're more comfortable, if you're a gamer, you can use the WASD keys. WASD. Or WASD. We can change the speed. We can do movement types. We could go only left and right or up and down. We can have them oriented direction. But I don't think we want that so far. Hey, so now that we got the movement in, we can just press play. Let's go. Oh no! Something's really weird. Well, first, his face is disconnected. And it seems like our guy is flying all over the place. Okay. So we need to do a couple things. Let's select the character body. First, when I pressed play, he fell down. See? There goes his body. That happened because Unity has a fun thing built-in physics. So it's actually applying gravity to our guy. So what we want to do is, you'll see over here in this rigid body, we have a gravity scale. And we're going to just change that to 0 so he doesn't fall. Now if I press play, all right, he doesn't fall and he moves where I want him to, but he's quite fast and he's slippery. He's moving all over the place because Unity also has friction. If you learned in your science class, friction is the resistance of movement. So we want to add some drag to him. I believe if we add some linear drag and maybe some angular drag, and let's just see what linear drag does for us first. All right. So now that we have that, it moves a little bit more slowly with control. I'm having a little bit more slide. I'm still having some slides, so I really want precise controls with this guy. I agree, Gordon. Precise controls are the way to go. All right, so look at that. Now, he is a little slow, so we could just bump up his speed. There we go. That seems really nice. Okay, so now that we got the controls going, I want to make sure his face comes with him. And there's a simple solution to do that. We are going to connect his eyes, hair, mouth, and hat to his body. So then you're right, Gordon. I'm doing it, okay? Please have some patience, buddy. All right. So, since our character body has our controls... Oh, and I forgot to explain what a rigid body is. It's our physics engine. Yeah, all of that simulated physics, that is because of our rigid body. And it is 2D because this is a 2D object. All right, but I digress. Back to connecting our items. So it's very easy to connect these items to the body. So what we're going to do is we're going to click onto the eyes. We're going to drag and hover over character body until it's highlighted. Might be kind of hard to see on my screen. When character body is highlighted, we let go of the mouse. And now the eyes will be under the character body on the hierarchy. If you press the arrow, you can see that it is connected. We're going to do the same to the hair, the mouth, and the hat. Now what this is called, so the character body is the parent object. And these objects are its children. And as in life, children should always go with their parents. Hence the name. So now that all my objects are attached to my character body, I press play. The eyes, the hat, the hair moves with the body. Okay. All right. So while we're moving around, you can see I'm kind of going off screen here. I don't really like that. I wanna stay on the screen, on the game window. So that's the last thing we're going to cover in this video, is we're going to have the camera follow our player. And so since this object is our player, I kind of actually want to name him our player. And there's an easy way to do that. You can select character body and go over to the inspector where it has its name. Delete character body, and we can type in player. And then hit enter. This will have it so it's easy to find, and that this is our player character. All right, and that's going to be important. So when we go over to the main camera, we're gonna do a couple things to change this guy. First off, we have a very wide camera view. All right, but we are going to add a component to this camera. So we click the Add Component button, and we're going to type in follow. And as you can see, two things come up: follow target and camera follow. Which one do you think we want? That's right, camera follow. So now we have this component called camera follow, and it has an object to follow. It needs a target. So there's a couple ways that we can set our player as this target. First is you can click this little circle, and it'll bring up all of the objects in the scene, and we can click player. Now sometimes this can get really confusing once we get a lot of objects into the scene. So you can also go over to the hierarchy, click and hold, and drag player over to this target. Once it's targeted, it's good to go. All right, let's press play. And now our camera follows our player. All right. So it looks like we can get off this grassy knoll, but we will cover that in the next video with boundaries and objects. All right. So to recap what we talked about in this video, we talked about layering sprites. If you put a sprite at the top of the list or at the lowest number, it's at the back. If you put it at the bottom of the list or have a higher number, it's in the front. And that's how you layer your sprites. We talked a little bit about a player character. It's the one that the player controls. We gave him some eyes, a nice smile, and all that. We gave him some movement controls. We also talked a little bit about physics in the rigid body. We talked about parenting objects and parenting objects to child objects so that they follow with them. And then we also attached a component to the camera to make it follow. All right, that's it for this video.